else would you hear bumping music to this Saturday than on this station? Thanks for joining us today. It is Alex Guerra podcasting. Michael Myers stepping into the box here to join me once again. Good morning, Michael. Hold on one second.
I guess maybe you can't hear me.
There we go. All right. Yeah, we got you now. So,
Yeah.
sorry about that.
Yeah.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. I had a great yesterday. Made a new friend. Made a couple of new friends. Embraced a strange woman. Came home smelling like a strange woman. Overall, it was a great day. And I told my wife, by the way.
And how did she react?
Yeah, kind of like, wasn't a big deal. She's
So
used
she
to me.
trusts you. That's a good thing. That's a very, very good thing.
No, she just knows. Out looking for hookers.
No, I know. No one would suspect you were, because you're a good guy. But I do have some interesting things to say. I noticed you changed your backdrop like I changed backdrop. So,
Oh, no, that's not a backdrop. I actually I got that for $2,400. All of that equipment.
so how did you end up? And by the way, on the podcast side, he's got his studio right behind him, and I'm curious how he did it, or why he changed his up for Zoom. What was the reasoning?
Because I could.
I love it. This is a very cool setup here. So
it's fun.
I will definitely put this on YouTube and say, hey, we all got a new setup. I like to say I was declaring autonomy from the bookshelf because everybody's still doing their bookshelf life.
Now, I got to ask a question because you mentioned that word autonomy. Evidently, is this in Seattle?
Yeah, there's Sleepless in Seattle and there's Autonomous in Seattle. That's the 2020 movie, I guess. And I don't want to even talk about it. I just think
What is it?
These guys, anarchists, took over 7 blocks of downtown Seattle.
Yeah.
On the Capitol of Seattle. And the mayor let it happen. The police department wasn't supposed to do anything. They just let them take over their precinct. I mean...
Really? Wow.
It gets my blood boiling, Michael. It really does.
I think the best way to put it is those people in that community have been screwed.
They have. Business owners, I mean, they say there are unconfirmed reports of them being bullied, but you know what? That's just the media trying to give cover. I saw Twitter where these Antifa guys are on Twitter saying, we need more guns. We need people to protect this. And I'm like, how is this being allowed?
It is. Alex, I can't do it anymore. I can't do it.
Well, and that's why I say I need to let the world resolve itself and focus on things that you and I and the other podcasters can control. Like, what can we do differently to not give them as much attention? That's kind of what I'm going to be working on moving forward, because that's all they want is our attention, and we cannot give it to them anymore.
There's a battle going on, and it's a serious battle. And yesterday, I just took it on. I'm done being I'm done.
A nice guy, you mean? Is that what you're done being?
No.
Or?
Oh, that's the other song I need. That's a cool song, actually. No more Mr. Nice Guy. Thank you. No more Mr. Nice Guy. By Alice Cooper.
Alice Cooper. School is out.
For summer. Because of COVID.
I was thinking of Mr. Bojangles by Sammy Davis Jr. also. That's a pretty good song. But no, and so how do we do that? We let it resolve itself by just ignoring it. And I'm ready to. I think we've given too much credence to these cretins. Ooh, I like that.
Write that down. Credence to the cretins. Oh, now we're name calling. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Alice who? Cooper. No more Mr. Nice Guy. I have that by what's his name? Pat Boone too. That's
He was such a good voice. I had heard some of Papoon's stuff. What a
Okay,
singer.
I'm really sorry because I'm not focusing.
That's okay. You're focused on.
There
Are
it
you
is.
gonna pull up a song for us, or you're just?
Oh no, I need to set this up differently so I could actually play a song while we are doing this, but the setup I have right now doesn't allow me to do that. So
Gotcha.
I think I'll replace Groovy Kind of Love with No More Mr. Nice Guy.
And that's the other thing, though, is, and I've kind of let this go, but my other thought on this was, if we stop talking about him, does that give them more ammunition to just keep going? All right, well, they're not going to stop us now, so we'll just keep going. That's also a thing that's in the back of my mind.
Oh, our silence is killing us. Wow.
Isn't
Maybe
it,
us
though?
being silent is, well, in a way I think so, because yesterday there's a gal that we had quite a parting of the ways a number of years ago, and when I was visiting this new friend I met, he just happens to live next door to this person, and when I saw this individual, I was like, I'm not going to let anything get in the way of me loving this gal. So I just went running across the yard and embraced her and told her I left my Trump hat at home just because I didn't want her to get upset. But that isn't why. And all is good. It's good. And she mentioned Facebook, and she said, I just can't do Facebook. It's just there's just so much crap going on there. So we take to the airwaves, right?
The airwaves, yes. There's no wonder why Mark Zuckerberg, and I don't know, I've never really seen a study on Facebook users, especially during this time. I'm hoping we do, though. I'm hoping there's some studies out saying, hey, here's how this was affecting people during this time, and maybe Zuckerberg will try to suppress it because it'll make the Facebook look actually pretty bad, to be honest with you.
Well, I just know that it's quite a platform, and I got to tell you this. Yesterday, I posted something about being I'm nothing without love. I cannot believe the positive responses that came from that, and it was on it was on the Boone community page, not so much the other one, the uncensored. It was fantastic. It was such great responses. I mean, it was very encouraging.
So
It
keep
really
doing it.
was.
Do the things that encourage and not
Yeah.
divide. I guess that's my own message to myself. Although we don't really do anything that divides, it just makes it seem like we're against them, and that's why they get freaked out, I think. So that's the other part of this, too.
Well, it's very, it's like the gospel is very offensive. It's foolishness to those who are perishing. It's like, Myers, you're such an idiot. Then I guess I'm an idiot, but I'm a joy-filled idiot sometimes until I get pulled into the world crap, and I'm supposed to be in it but not of it. That's what I got to remember. In it but not of it. Don't
And
let this crap get to me.
who's going to be the ultimate resolver of all this? It's not going to be the politicians. It's not going to be even them. It's going to be God.
Yeah. And he's just sitting back. Bible actually says he sits back and laughs at these leaders. I have a commentary here that I'm going to be using today, and it's how we need to be taking this message. Something about even talks about the United Nations. I mean, the late Doctor.
They've been quite quiet, haven't they? The UN over all this.
Yeah, they have, and I think. Well, God's got an army, not afraid to fight, soldiers of the cross, children of the light, warriors of righteousness with healing in their hands. God's got an army marching through the land. Let me hear a war cry. Hey, that's going to be playing today.
All right.
I'm pumped.
I could tell, and I think you're rejuvenized. There's something yesterday, and I don't know if you felt it. Yesterday was a huge energy shift, and
Yes.
I felt it, and I just went with it to do my own reorganizing of my studio. But also, I just felt a massive energy shift to the positive, actually.
Yes, and it was very encouraging. I went with this gentleman, and he had his little his little Chihuahua's name is Bubba, and Bubba, when I met him at the Dutch Oven, which is a crazy name for a bakery. I mean, a Dutch oven is when you pull the blanket over your wife's head and you fart. I mean, that's a Dutch oven. So what? Anyway, but they were like, you can't have your dog in here. It's like, first of all, lady, listen, wench, it's not my dog. And the guy's got papers for the little dog, but they've fixed us up a place outside in the shade with a table and some chairs and brought some water out for his dog. It was a very neat get together. And he asked me, he said, didn't you give me a card on it that said something about Hope Radio? I said, yeah. And he said, what's that all? And I told him. Turns out his wife was a very committed follower of Christ. And I ended up going to his house, met some friends of his. It was a great conversation. It was rejuvenating.
Well, let me tell you, this is why I love the Midwest more than the Northeast in certain ways, because there's a certain kindness that the Midwesterners have for each other and for out-of-towners, so to speak, that you don't get in New York City. And that's why I've always liked going to Chicago and going to other Milwaukee. I mean, they were all very generous. And I was like, this is not what I'm used to in New York.
Really? Huh. I didn't know that about New York. Are people a little standoffish?
Sometimes. And the thing is, we've got a lot of transplants there. So other cities have these people coming to us, and then they think they can run the world. I mean, look, we saw this just 2 weeks ago. People came out of the state to ransack New York, and they thought they were New Yorkers. You know, that's not who New Yorkers are.
So do you notice a little, oh boy, it's like if you spot it, you got it. But do you maybe see a little arrogance, kind of, sort of a little bit, maybe? Like you need to do it our way because we know and you don't?
You mean in New York? Hey, you know what they say?
Yeah.
It's my way or the Long Island Expressway sometimes, or the highway, right? So that's kind of how we roll in this city. I try not to be arrogant, but I gotta be honest. When I'm out there, like going out places and stuff, I can't help but talk about my podcast, and I kind of feel selfish saying that, but it's just what I do. It's like, yeah, I do this in New York, and
And it's interesting because I don't think wow. I don't think I talk about it quite enough. Although I've got a bunch of cards made up, and I don't put them out there as much as I used to, but maybe I ought to. Why not? I mean, it's not. I don't know that it's so much arrogance as it is. You've got a great message, and you have a different take on things, and people need to maybe have a different quote news source. I don't know if it's news, good news.
I'll never forget. Can I tell you a story? I never forget. I started talking to these two girls at a bar years ago about my pod. It's like, are you a Trump supporter? And I said, well, to be honest, I do like him some of the time. And they dogged me the rest of the night in a fun way, not like a mean way. But it was just funny that I was entering that realm, and I didn't even intend to go there. They just took it there.
Well, and again, this is something that happened yesterday when I was talking to this gentleman. And he said, yep, when they found out in my neighborhood here that I was a Trump supporter, people kind of they didn't talk to him as often. And I just think it's neat that I've rekindled this relationship with this person that in the past, it's like, let's just leave that out and let's just stick to the truth. Okay. I know you don't like the guy. That's fine. But if every time we get together, you're going to hate me because I support somebody that you don't, then why am I here if all I'm supposed to do is just kowtow and be nice and not be offensive in any way? I'm sorry if Trump offends you, but there's sometimes he says things that are very offensive. Did you hear the latest about the transgender taking away the funding?
Yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. I don't like the idea of the White House being lit up with all these rainbow colors. I mean, I think there's an agenda, and I think
that was the first time I really saw Obama's agenda really shine through.
Literally.
When he lit that, he almost told the Christians and those who believe in traditional marriage, you don't matter. You don't matter. And that's kind of what I got out of it. And I thought that was a pretty arrogant thing to do, to be honest with you.
And I don't want to, it still comes down to this. And this sounds so wussified, but it still comes down to loving each other. You don't have to agree with people, you can still love them.
Exactly.
Love your neighbor as yourself, and that's what it comes down to. It really does. And if people are going to say, well, up yours, don't love me, or don't you dare pray for it. If you pray for me, I will.
But also, I mean, I have family that is gay, and I love them. I love people. I don't care really who they are or what they do. I just want them to be good people.
You love people. You love people. And what is wrong with people wanting to be loved?
Exactly.
Now if it's not love, and had a great, last night I did that show with Gary Russ, and he was talking about his first marriage, and he said he got married so that he could get out of the house because he couldn't stand his sisters. Like, I don't know if that's a good reason to get married, just to get out from.
How many sisters?
I think he had 2. He just wanted to get married just to get out of the house.
I guess one is enough. One sister is enough. Right?
When I didn't have any sisters, I just had brothers.
And that's cool too. And I'm sure the brothers helped raise you in the sense that not even the older brother.
The oldest one? Are you kidding me? Wow, Rod the Claude. I should have Rod on sometime. I love Rod, but Rod is Rod.
Speaking of coming out as a Trump supporter, did your family support it, or were they a little like, Mike, what are you doing?
No. They're all definitely Trump supporters. Some of them more silent, maybe. Yeah, because you have to be careful. That morning that I wore my Trump hat into the bus barn where I drive, and somebody had mentioned something about it, and I just went off. I threw my hat across. No, that was when I crushed that aluminum can. I was so mad, and I threw. You're laughing at me, man.
I love it. I love your stories. You have the most interesting stories on this podcast.
But hatred overtook me. I was so ticked off because somebody, Trump is why we are where we are today. Yeah, you know what? How do you mean that? Well, everything's messed up. I don't think it is. I think things are kind of coming to like a pimple head. Things are getting squeezed and pretty gross. Ew.
People getting squeezed. Michael, though, there's as I was saying yesterday, there's a resolution coming to all this, and
there is.
I still don't believe I don't think it's Christ coming down just yet, but I think it's something. There's some resolution coming down for us.
I believe from the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven has been subjected to violence, and violent people have been raiding it. Now, that's kind of hard to understand what that means, and the guy that wrote this commentary is like, I don't really know what it means. But there is something happening, and if we're not moving forward, and I'm going to say it, with the power of love. Oh, my goodness. That's a song, I think. That was not making fun of people that... See, I can't even do anything.
Mike,
anymore.
That's why I'm going after different topics. I'm not going to cover what these anarchists are doing. I'm going to cover ways that we can truly move things forward without worrying about those who put us behind. I'm not going to deal with those people anymore.
And that is a fantastic attitude. It is. I'm marching forward, man. When I was a little squirt and my mama would take us out to church, when they would sing Onward Christian Soldiers, I stood up and I was marching, man. Onward, Christian soldiers, marching us through.
Also, my favorite one is They Know Us by the Way we
They'll know us by our love for one.
And I just love those songs. So
and do people know us by our love for each other? Including not just the family of God, but outside the family?
I don't know. I think some are pensive.
Pensive?
To love Christians.
Does that have something to do with the vice president? What's pensive?
Wait, you don't know the word pensive?
No, I don't, Mr. Jeducated.
It's like the people...
You're so full of yourself because you're from New York.
People are, sometimes afraid to deal with Christians because they don't know how they're going to be talked to, I think. And that's something we got to do differently for them.
Really? I got to write that word down. I do not. I'm not playing stupid. I don't have to play it. There's just, I'm ignorant. There's a difference. I'm learning.